How's it going, everybody? Dr. Rob here, physical therapist and owner of Ascent Physical Therapy here on Long Island, New York, bringing you another late night live video with me. It's not Tuesday. It's been a little bit crazy. It's been a little bit busy because of patients and clients and other things I have going on in the background, including my new staff member that I hired. So doing a lot of training with her and getting her ready to take care of you in the best way possible and also raise the level of service that we're able to provide for you. So please bear with me. Today is Thursday. It is late night, so I won't keep you too long. So let's get into it. Tonight we're going to be talking about intention when we're doing activity and exercise. As far as intention goes, this is something of having a purpose, making sure that when you're exercising or when you're running or when you're working out, you have some level of purpose for what you're trying to get out of that workout. How is it getting you towards the goal that you're trying to achieve? This is something that, gets completely forgotten a lot of the times, whether it's a recreational athlete, not as necessarily as much with the semi-pro and the pro athletes, but it is something that can get lost in the motions. And it's something that I'm not saying that you should sometimes get rid of and just focus on just having fun and free, because you should be doing that at some point in time. But even when you are doing your workouts or exercising with intention, you do want to make sure that you do have some level of fun with it. Because if you're not having fun, what are you doing it for? What I want to talk about today is a couple of things, and I also want to remind you guys a little bit about the different common running faults that are going on. So as we get into it, we'll go through those as well. So what I've been seeing lately in my community, what I've been seeing lately in my clients, lately what I've been asked and what I've been doing for myself as a runner, as an endurance athlete, and trying to get back into competing for coming 2022. This is something that has been going through my mind of trying to improve my own running form. My running form has been evolved over the years, and it is something that is always continuing to evolve, just like it should with you, in order to make it more efficient, more powerful, better understanding of why you may not be improving or reaching your goals. So always during this time, when we do have that time off in the off season, you're taking that time, you're sitting down, and you're getting to the deep root causes of why you think that you did not perform as well as you thought you were going to, or figuring out how you can improve next year. So that involves either getting a couple seconds and taking that off your time, staying injury-free, staying pain-free, or trying to make yourself more efficient so you feel less tired in your workouts. So what I've been working on specifically for myself, over the years, I've always worked on improving my base. My base cardio was basically how I was improving this past year. I was doing a lot of long, slow runs, which I'm not used to doing. I'm more of a short course, slower or shorter race distance person. So 5K, 10K. But, this past year I was doing more half marathons. I was doing a couple marathon distances. So it wasn't necessarily competing, but it was something that I was doing in order to improve myself, giving me that base cardio, that base running platform, so that I can improve my overall speed later on. But at the same time, I also was working on form and making sure that I was staying efficient throughout. Did I have injury this year? Yes, I did. However, that is violation of my rules, so we won't talk about that tonight. However, I did have intention with each run that I did, whether that was working by myself or working with a group of people that I love hanging out with. But what I've been doing lately has been more around improving my recovery phase of my running gait. So basically, any of that recovery phase is any time where you take off from push off, so pushing off the ground and bringing your leg through and recovering. So any time that you're pushing off and pulling your leg through, that is your recovery phase, or that is your swing phase of your gait, and you want to make sure that you have appropriate return. A lot of times when we're running at the slower paces, anywhere between 14 to 14-minute pace for your mile, or anywhere up to about 9-minute pace, a lot of times we're not necessarily running at that where we're doing a full return. We're working more in this area where we're having a little bit of a knee bend. We're getting through and we're just scraping the ground. We're kind of pushing the ground with us. But what is that? What are we missing there? What are we missing the ability to do? In this position, when we're down here, we're missing out on energy we could be using. We're using a little bit more calf. We're not using as much glute. We're using glute in order to stabilize and absorb as we're going through, but we're not necessarily working on actually pushing off the ground and getting into the next step. So what I've been working on is improving that recovery phase where I am getting more and hitting my butt more as I'm coming through, driving my knee forward, and being able to land under my foot all at the same time. Now, why is that important? You know, the importance of this stems from the 5 common faults in mechanics that we generally see with runners. So those 5 include the simple overstride, so stepping out with your foot in front of you. So basically where your foot comes out and lands in front of your center of gravity instead of directly underneath. When that happens, we're putting that brake force up into our body. We're getting excess force into our system, which could lead to breakdown of our knees, breakdown of our hips, breakdown of our feet and ankles, leading to some pain, some achiness, some injury. The next common fault is pelvic drop. So when we have pelvic drop, what does that do? It can cause us to have a heel flick. It can cause us to have a little bit of altered gait pattern when we're trying to swing around our leg in order to avoid scraping the ground. Trying to bend your knee a little bit more. It could also lead to you scuffing your feet, or it could lead to other breakdown of your hips and your knees because of lack of stability. The next one is number 3, and number 3 is basically when we have a little bit of a scissoring. So basically our feet will cross one in front of the other, and it is pretty common where you can have a little bit of a swing. Sometimes that's due to hip control and stability. Sometimes that can be related to the decreased ability to push off effectively with your foot. So if you have any ankle mobility issues, or if you have decreased ability to push off in the appropriate portion of your foot, you may find that you're crossing over a little bit. Or you may have crossover with your arms too. If you're dealing with someone, or you are somebody who likes to cross their arms when they're running, you may find yourself where you're kind of scissoring a little bit with your feet, where your feet are basically in line with each other. Not necessarily appropriate, and you do want to have where your feet are landing a little bit more even over each other, over your hips, so that you have direct force as you're pushing forward. The next one is when we are dealing more with basically where what's that next one? We are having issues with push off, where we are dealing more with the where we're turning out with our foot. When we're turning out with our foot, we're creating that circumduction around, like I was mentioning, leading to sometimes that extra side-to-side motion we can have with our torso. When we have excess side-to-side motion with our torso, we can deal with or notice that we feel more tired, we have less energy to do things, and we don't get the appropriate amount of time that we want within our workouts or within our competitions, and it is wasted energy. And the last one is that we are dealing with that our upper posture and our torso. So sometimes we can have that inability to, or we notice that our head starts falling forward when we get tired, or we start slouching over when we get tired. And when we get tired, you know, we're getting inefficient ability for us to breathe. So we don't have the appropriate positioning of our sternum over our pelvis, and because of that, we can't breathe efficiently. We start using our more upper respiratory muscles in order to do that. On top of that, what we notice is that we also start to lose that forward lean that we're supposed to have at our ankles. We start having more of that forward trunk lean. We start utilizing our thighs instead of our glutes and our hips a little bit better, and we start using our calves a little bit instead of using everything together in a system in order to have that appropriate motion. So what you want to do is make sure that you are upright, make sure that your chin is back, and make sure that you are leaning in front like this from your ankles, not necessarily from your torso like here. As soon as you start doing this, you start losing everything that's in that hip stability. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that does help give you a little bit better understanding of what you can do to improve your running form based off of what I'm doing. Because basically I'm trying to work on improving knee drives. By improving knee drive and getting a little bit more of a 90-degree angle as I'm coming through will allow for me to be able to land with my foot underneath me just as is appropriate, so that I have more propulsion behind me and be able to function better and move faster. This is something I've been experimenting with. All it does for anything that you're trying to improve upon, just try it for a few seconds. You don't have to do it for an entire workout. Just have a purpose for what you're trying to do. You know, my last 2 workouts I've really focused on doing that, and have worked on just doing it for a couple of times for about 30 seconds. And then this past workout I did for about a minute. And, you know, I dropped my time for when I was running at 7:10 minute pace, and I brought it down to 5:55 while I was running, just by increasing my turnover and working on my knee drive as I was coming through. And it is something that is possible and something that you can easily do yourself. So whether that's improving just your arm swing and getting it nice and even forward and backward instead of working across the side to side, just work on some simple things that we mentioned today, and I'm sure that you will make some level of improvement. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them down below. If you feel like you're having a hard time or difficulty getting to be able to improve your function and improve your ability to run appropriately, please feel free to comment down below, or please feel free to reach out to me directly with the number 516-387-4669, and I'd be happy to take care of you and answer any questions you may have. If you have any specific topics you would like to hear about, please feel free to also comment them down below or message me directly. I'd be happy to talk about them for you. And I will be hopefully seeing you guys next Tuesday. If not, there will be another time that I will announce in the future to be able to give you the knowledge that you need. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you guys next week.